Adia Barnes. Welcome to the Swain Basketball On Your Moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate you
excited.
taking
I'm excited.
That's good. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk with me and have basketball talk. So, Coach, let's get going. Coach. Coach, you played at Arizona, Pac-10 Player of the Year, drafted in '98 to the Storm. Tell me that feeling, Coach. Explain that feeling to me.
Well, so when I started college, there wasn't a WNBA. So obviously, I never aspired to play professional because if you asked me when I was a freshman in college if I was going overseas, I would have said no way in heck.
Wow.
So it evolved like my junior year. Remember the ABL formed and then the WNBA. So it was the year after. So I remember at the time when I started to kind of see, okay, I can maybe play basketball for a living.
Right.
That's when the ABL was trying to recruit me, then the WNBA. But for me at the time, I thought the WNBA had, the NBA backing and better marketing.
Right.
So then I chose the WNBA. So
wow.
Yeah, it was good. And that was back then when the Pac-12 was Pac-10. So that was a long time ago.
Exactly. So now being the head coach at your alma mater, explain that feeling, Coach. I know that have to be a wonderful feeling.
It is a wonderful feeling because, when I played here, we were a good team. We were like a top 10 team my last couple of years. So it's been hard to leave. I was playing overseas pro for 13 years. And then just always hearing about Arizona, like we hadn't been good in like a decade. So that, you take that personal because you put in work there. It's like you built it. And then, we were bad. So I remember saying like, dang, Arizona has all the resources. They could be good. But we just weren't. But I think that's one of the reasons why I got the opportunity. And just when you have a chance to come back to your alma mater where everything started for you, it's always more special.
Wow. Coach, speak about the mindset that you had playing professionally in Europe, being away from your family, different lifestyle change, and then coaching.
So it's very different. Like if you'd asked me a freshman year in college, would I go overseas? I would have said not for $1 zillion. And then when I was graduating, went to the WNBA. Well, kind of the thing that everybody did was they went to the WNBA. I only made like $39,000 my first contract. I think I made $39,500, and I thought I was rolling. But then to make your real money, you go overseas. So everybody kind of went overseas. You get paid to work out. You travel the world, and you play against all the best WNBA players.
Right.
So it was kind of the natural progression at the time. You can make more money, and you work out. So, but your first couple jobs are always bad. My first one was like in Portugal. And it was like me and another American. It was Umfan Udoka. She was a longtime pro. We played there together, and it was a struggle because you don't get paid a lot your first couple jobs.
Right.
And you're just trying to figure it out. But then I stuck with it. Every year got a better job. And back then we didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have all this Zoom. We were paying a lot for our phone bills, and you were homesick. But I always just found a good little group. I always got in touch with like the military base, people on the base, and I was at the American bases. So I was okay overseas. It wasn't bad.
Wow. So, Coach, I played in France and Lithuania and in Russia. So when I was in those countries, we had to buy the phone card. So I went to the stands at the corner of the store and bought the phone card. So I used to have my flat. I know y'all used to say the word flat. Yeah. My flat used to have calling cards all over the room.
That's what we used to get those Vodafone. I remember we guys used to get like Vodafone calling cards. But then our bill, we would spend like a G a month on the phone because back then you were by yourself. It was different than nowadays. So nowadays it's way easier. So if they're homesick, they're just soft because they can get on FaceTime every day.
That's a beautiful thing, Coach. Fast forward, Coach. Fast forward, University of Arizona, your alma mater, ranked 18 times, 18 straight weeks. Ranked in the AP poll, Coach. A lot of success in such a short period of time. What are your goals for Arizona going forward?
Well, I think the first thing was I knew we'd be good because I knew we had the facilities, we had the resources. I knew I could recruit. I knew California is down right now, but I knew you have to be able to recruit California if you're going to be successful at Arizona.
Right.
But I knew we could do that. I didn't know like how hard it'd be to build, but I knew I could. It was just a matter of time. So I was surprised that it kind of happened so fast, but I think a couple things fell into place. So Aries, a player I recruited at Washington, Mike Neighbors leaves from Washington to Arkansas. So Aries transfers here. That's how we got good fast.
Right.
Aries. And then we had a transfer from Purdue, Dominique McBride. Then we had a transfer from Iowa State, which was TT Starks. So they kind of took a chance. And remember, they all came on a vision. So
Right.
back then I was selling a vision. We hadn't been good in a decade. So I was selling the fact that we're going to be good. Do you believe in it? Do you want to come to war with me? Do you want to come and do it? And so all those people had that vision and they wanted to grind it out and build something special. Because remember, the year those 3 kids sat out, we won 6 games. But I was optimistic because I had my team, and that was the practice team, and our practice team used to kick our team's ass every day.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there's a good silver lining a little bit. We won 6 games.
Right.
And they came to play, and then we added a couple more pieces, and then we signed our first McDonald's All-American, Kate Reese out of Texas. So all those things, I think that just helped us get better. But I didn't think if you would have told me, oh, you'll be ranked number 12 at the end of the season, I would have said, okay, slow down. I wouldn't have thought that.
Wow.
But I'm proud of our girls, and everybody that came here has built it with me from the ground. And remember, I just finished my 4th year. It wasn't until this year that I had all my players. So it's, and usually coaches sign 5-year contracts. So now this is the 1st year I had all my players. So this will be the 2nd year with all my players.
Wow, that's amazing, Coach. Coach, what are some of the skill set of the game, guy, you being a point guard? What do you look for that your point guards have when they're running your offense?
Well, so I was a 3-4. I was undersized 4 in college. So I was a 5'10" post. Yeah, I was a 5'10" post. Everybody told me I couldn't play a post in college. And then I came to Arizona. I was the smallest post in the Pac-12, and I just used to run the floor, and I used to run the big girls up and down the floor. But then, so the point guard, Ari was the best point guard this school has ever had. And I think Ari has kind of been the catalyst for everything. Because she's the catalyst on both ends. She's kind of been the one that other good players wanted to play with because they had watched her at Washington with Kelsey Plum and Chantel Osahar. So we've kind of built everything around her. But for me, we run a really good system for a point guard. She's a scoring point guard. And the thing that makes her special is she's dominant on both ends. So she can score it if you need her to. She can pass otherwise and create for other people. But she's also a dog on defense. And most players in the country can't play on both ends. If they're great on offense, they're not great on defense. They're great on defense, they usually can't shoot.
Right.
So she's kind of been the one that's been the spearhead for all that. And we put some better pieces around her. So her scorings came down a little bit, but we run a system that's made for a point guard like that.
Coach, what's the main concept that you guys focus on in your individual workout?
So we do a ton. I think that's one thing that we had to do to get good. I wasn't getting all McDonald's All-Americans. We were getting the 3-star kid that we had to build up. We weren't getting – we've had one McDonald's All-American. And Ari wasn't Ari years ago. She's worked and she's developed. So we work a ton on footwork. We work on a lot of passing. I think passing is something that teams don't work on, and I think players don't get that skill work. They don't know how to pass the ball. Right. So we work on passing, timing, spacing a lot, and footwork. And we do it. And we're one of the few teams that throughout the year, our players are getting better. So during the year, like when we're in conference, you can't practice 3 hours. We practice an hour, 15, hour and a half. And then in the morning, every day, you have so Monday's usually off. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have skill work individual. Right. And one day we have posts and guards together. So we'll have like 2 to 4 people. Right. But with us doing that, our players are getting better throughout the year. And I always tell people, some schools develop and their players get better. Some schools don't. So I always say, look for the evidence. I say, look at my player when she's a freshman. Look at her when she first got in. It's all online nowadays. Right. Look at her at the end of her freshman year. Look at her as a sophomore. If you don't see her developing, we're not doing our job. We're not developing our kids.
That's big.
I think so. I think skill development is a lost art. I think a lot of people can't teach details because they don't know how to or they've never played. So I think we do a really good job of that. But we had to. Now it's changing. Now we're able to get the kids like Trinity we just got, and those are good. But we couldn't get those kids a couple years ago.
Wow, Coach, your best player is returning this year, and she could have went to the WNBA, but she chose to come back and allow you to coach her and choose Arizona. How does that feel, Coach?
It feels great. Me and her are really close. I've had a relationship with her since she was a sophomore. Sorry, this is my son giving me a hug, of course.
Oh, it's okay.
He waits till I get on Zoom call to come give me some love all the time.
They're precious.
So it felt really good because we have a really good relationship. I believe that I'm a relationship person. I have to have a relationship with kids. I recruit certain types of kids, and it's important for me. But she's my point guard. She is someone who is an extension of me on the floor. She's
Right.
someone I trust and trusts me. And she knows she's gotten better with me. And I think that for her, she had choices. She would have been probably the number 6 pick. I think she would have probably gone to Minnesota.
Right.
Um, but I think that next year she can be a top 3 pick. She can come in and have an amazing college career. She gets her master's. So I took a step back. I didn't want to be the person that was pressuring her because I just said we're going to be good anyways. We might just look a little different without her and change some things. But I wanted her to make the decision what's best for her and her future. And I didn't want to be a part of that. So I took a step back, let it. And I was happy because, I mean, she makes every offense look a little better. She makes every defense look a little better. You know,
Yeah.
you need good players to win. And I think the main thing is our relationship, and she trusts me. And she trusts that I'll help her reach her goals.
Wow, that's a good thing. Coach, let me ask you, how being an ex-professional help you better relate to your players?
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
How being an ex or former professional basketball player, how does that help you relate to your players today?
It helps you tremendously because I think a lot of people, it doesn't mean you're not a good coach if you haven't played, but I think it's very different. I think there's experiences that I have,
Right.
and there's things that you know as the player that you did,
Right.
and you understand. And I don't think you understand that when you didn't play. And I
Right.
think for me, I think it's helped me being a professional because I know what it takes to get there. I wasn't a star player. I wasn't your Cynthia Cooper. I was a role player that had heart, and I was a dog. And I worked and worked and worked, and I always found a niche. If a team needed a defensive stopper, I became a defensive stopper. So I was like that. And I think that having that and knowing what it takes and knowing where Ari's trying to go and what that looks like, it just helps with knowledge. It helps with understanding their moments and just experience what it's like working your last year towards the pros. I think there's tremendous value in it. And I think it's just very different. Like, I know what it's like to be overseas. So my players call me from overseas. I'm like, oh, try this, this, and this. I know it's like feeling lonely when you're overseas.
Yeah.
I know what it's like that you're only happy the weeks you get paid because you hate the place. I mean,
Yeah.
when you get that, I think it's a completely different experience. I mean, think about you. Like, aren't you better because you were a player and you get it?
Yeah. That's it.
I mean,
That's it, Coach. Yeah.
yeah, I just think I think there's tremendous value to former players. That's why I want to see more former players in the game. I want, because it doesn't mean all the time you're a great player that you're a great coach either. You have to learn how to teach.
Right.
But I think that's the fun part. The fun part's being on the court developing.
There you go. I totally agree. That's why I took a passion in my player development career, you know? So
Yeah.
I totally agree. I like to be that person in the back that don't nobody see. And
Yeah.
then I like to see the kid go out and execute what they being taught.
Yeah, so you see your work, and that's what I like. And that's why I have aha moments with Ari. She's good, and she was going to get better just from games.
Yeah.
But when there's something we work on all the time, and then I see her apply it, or I see them talk in my language, then I know I'm getting to them in different ways. So I think those are special moments. And I think as a player, there's little tricks you learn. Like, I didn't learn till the pros, like you're getting held on certain screens. You teach your players little tricks
Yeah.
and how to do things that you would know if you were a player.
There you
It's
go.
small things. It's just different ways to play,
Yeah.
and I think it's useful.
Let me ask you, Coach. Throughout the course of a season, you had a good season, but I'm sure during that times, well, maybe not publicly or individually, but collectively, I'm sure it was some ups and downs. At what point during the season did you feel like you had to own your moment and bring the team together and regroup?
It's funny because I felt like we had that moment right before. So we had a good season. We're successful. Everything's disguised when you're winning. Everybody's happy always.
Right.
We had a moment. So we beat number 5 Stanford on a Friday.
Yeah.
First time in our program we had ever beaten a top 5 team, which I didn't even know that till after the game because I thought we had done that when I was a player. Didn't know we didn't do it.
Wow.
You didn't follow the stats when he played. But so we beat Stanford on Friday. And then we go into Sunday, and I think we took Cal lightly. We were prepared, but I think we were really so high on Friday, we thought we were just going to beat Cal by 30 because they were last place in the Pac-12. Well, they came in and they stomped us. Okay, wow. They came in, they beat us, and I think our team was kind of stunned. And I thought that was a really good reality check, but I was more proud because after that they were really upset. Everybody was just kind of waiting for someone else, which you can't do. Okay, so we lose, and that's on senior day. our last home game of the year, it was the worst loss of the season.
Yeah.
But then we got a chance to play that same team the next week. We were going to the Pac-12 tournament. So we happened to get Cal. So our girls were pumped. I was glad to see how we were going to respond because it was kind of telling me where we were at. And I think your players are a reflection of you. And I think that they came out ready for war. And I love that because I figured if there was a time to lose, it wasn't a loss we wanted, but it was a good learning lesson going into the tournament.
So let me ask you this, Coach. With that being said, Coach, what do you feel was your team's emotional identity?
We're tough. We're gritty. We're not soft. That's not how I am. We're not afraid of anybody. That's not how we play.
Okay.
We get after it. Like we die for balls. We play with emotions. We don't get punked on the floor. Doesn't mean we're going to win every game, but we're going to fight. And I talk about that a lot. And Ari's the dog. Ari's the starter of that. She is someone who's tough. She is getting on board. She's stealing the ball. She's pressing. We press a lot. We want to dictate. We want to dictate the game. We don't want to sit back in the 2-3 zone and let people just hit shots and play percentages. We get up in you and we play fast. And I think it's a really fun player style. When I was a college player, I was at the top of presses. We were pressing. And so I decided to go with being more aggressive. I didn't know if we had the personnel for that because we don't have 5 athletes on the floor.
Right.
We have a couple, but we had a really good system and the players believed in the system. Because sometimes I was like, well, because we had a couple we had to disguise defensively, but we had a good system that they kind of bought into it. And so we're tough and gritty and we don't give up. We do not give up in game. That's not the team I'm going to ever put.
That's good, Coach. That's good. So now, Coach, with that type of mindset, with that type of emotional identity, Swain basketball, my brand is Own Your Moment.
Yeah.
I would like to know, what does Own Your Moment mean to you?
Own your moments. You got to live in the moment and do the best you can do. And I think that's being the best version of yourself. Wow. If you come and you play for me, I'm not asking to be someone else. I'm asking you to be the absolute best that you can be. But that's not just basketball.
That's huge.
That's owning your moment every way. You got to own your moment on the court. You got to own it off the court. It's not so. If you have a 3.2, we're going to be academic All-American.
Yeah.
We are always setting the bar because that's our philosophy. When I think of recruiting and I think of a Wildcat woman, she's smart, she's fearless. There is no boundaries. She thinks outside the box, and she lives in the moment every single day and doesn't waste time. So those are the kids I want in my program. And we have a couple of them. We're going to recruit more. And that's just what we do.
Oh, she's smart and she's fearless.
Fearless. We ain't afraid. We're not no punks around here. We're not afraid of anybody. I don't care.
I got you, Coach. Coach Adia, it was great speaking with you tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time from your family and talking with me.
My pleasure. It's fun.
Appreciate it, Coach. I'll see you soon.